My name is Sarah Mitchell, and I'm a 45-year-old schoolteacher who thought she knew everything about her life. I have two wonderful children, Emma, who is 16, and Jake, who is 14. For 20 years, I was married to David Mitchell, a man I thought I understood completely. But standing at his funeral, dressed in black, my hands shaking as I held my phone, I realized I didn't know him at all. The text message glowed on my screen like a bomb about to explode. I know what you did with the BMW money. We need to talk. Now. My heart stopped. My vision blurred. The phone slipped from my fingers and clattered onto the marble floor of the funeral home. Around me, people were crying, hugging, sharing memories of David. But I couldn't hear any of it. All I could hear was the rushing sound of blood in my ears, like standing next to a waterfall. My brother Tom bent down to pick up my phone. "Sarah, are you okay? You look like you've seen a ghost." I couldn't answer, because the text wasn't from just anyone. It was from David, my dead husband, the man whose body was lying in the casket just 15 feet away from me. But let me go back to where this nightmare really started. Let me tell you about the birthday party that destroyed everything. 3 weeks earlier, everything seemed perfect. It was a warm Saturday afternoon in June, and we were celebrating my brother Tom's 50th birthday at his beautiful house in the suburbs. Tom had done well for himself as a dentist, and his home showed it. A huge backyard with a swimming pool, perfectly cut grass, and a patio that could fit 50 people easily. David and I arrived early to help set up. My husband looked handsome in his blue polo shirt and khaki pants, his dark hair just starting to show some gray at the temples. He was smiling, relaxed, carrying a box of decorations from our car. "This is going to be great," David said, kissing my cheek. "Your brother deserves a fantastic party." I smiled back at him, completely unaware that in just a few hours, my entire world would shatter. The party filled up quickly. Tom's friends, our family, neighbors, everyone came. Music played from speakers hidden in the garden. The smell of burgers and hot dogs filled the air from the grill. Children, including Emma and Jake, splashed in the pool while adults stood around talking and laughing. Everything was normal. Everything was happy. Then came the moment that changed everything. Tom stood on the patio, tapping a fork against his glass to get everyone's attention. The crowd quieted down, turning to face him. He was grinning, his face flushed from excitement and probably a bit too much wine. "Thank you all for coming," Tom said loudly. 50 years old. I can't believe it. But you know what makes this birthday even more special? He gestured toward the driveway, and I followed his gaze. There, gleaming in the sunlight, was a brand new black BMW. The car was absolutely beautiful, with a giant red bow on top. My amazing little sister Sarah and her incredible husband David bought me this beauty, Tom announced. "Can you believe it? A BMW for my 50th. Best birthday gift ever." The crowd erupted in applause and cheers. People were patting David on the back, hugging me, saying how generous we were. I heard words like amazing and so kind and what a gift swirling around me. But I couldn't move. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. Because David and I had never bought Tom a BMW. We had never even talked about buying Tom a BMW. We couldn't afford a BMW. We were teachers. We had a mortgage, 2 kids heading toward college, and a 10-year-old Honda in our driveway. I turned slowly to look at David. His face had gone completely white, like all the blood had drained out of it. His eyes were wide, and his mouth hung open slightly. He looked as shocked as I felt. "David," I whispered, but my voice was too quiet. No one could hear me over the celebration. Tom was walking toward us, arms spread wide for a hug. "You guys. You shouldn't have. This is too much. But thank you, thank you, thank you." He grabbed David in a bear hug. Over Tom's shoulder, I could see David's face. He looked terrified. Absolutely terrified. "Tom," David said, his voice shaking, "I think there's been some kind of mistake. No mistakes. Tom interrupted, laughing. He pulled away and grabbed my shoulders. Sarah, you kept this secret so well. I had no idea. When the BMW dealership called yesterday to confirm the delivery, I almost fell over. My mind was racing. The BMW dealership called him? Yesterday. What was happening? Who? I started to say, but David cut me off. Can we talk inside for a minute? David asked Tom, his voice tight and strange. Sure. Tom said, still grinning. But first, let me show everyone the interior. Come on. He bounded off toward the car, and a crowd followed him. I grabbed David's arm, my fingers digging into his skin. David, what is going on? I hissed. We didn't buy that car. I know, he whispered back. His face was now not just white but actually greenish, like he might throw up. Sarah, I need to figure this out. Figure what out? My voice was rising. Did you buy my brother a BMW without telling me? With what money? We don't have that kind of money. Keep your voice down, David said, looking around nervously. Some people were still nearby, watching us. Please. Not here. Not now. Then when? I demanded. David, a BMW costs what, $60,000? 70. More. Where would we get that kind of money? His hands were shaking. I'd never seen my husband look so scared. I'll fix this, he said. I promise. I'll figure it out and fix it. That's not an answer, I said, but he was already walking away, heading toward the house. Not toward Tom and the car, but toward the house, like he was running away. I stood there, frozen, while the party continued around me. People kept coming up to me, congratulating me on the generous gift. Each compliment felt like a knife in my chest. My mother, a tiny woman with white hair, grabbed my hand. Sweetheart, that's so generous of you and David. But can you really afford something like that? We. I couldn't form words. What could I say? I don't know. We didn't do it. Something's very wrong. Are you feeling okay? Mom asked, peering at my face. You look pale. I need some water, I managed to say, and I escaped to the kitchen. Inside the house, I found David in Tom's office, sitting at the desk with his head in his hands. He was breathing hard, almost gasping. David. I shut the door behind me. Talk to me right now. What is happening? He looked up at me, and I saw something in his eyes I'd never seen before. It wasn't just fear. It was guilt. Deep, dark guilt. I made a mistake, he whispered. What kind of mistake? I asked, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might break through my ribs. A few months ago, he started, then stopped. He swallowed hard. There was this investment opportunity. A guy I met at a conference. He said he could triple any money I invested in 6 months. It seemed legitimate. He had documents, references, everything. Cold dread washed over me. David, no. Please tell me you didn't. I took out a loan, he said quietly. Against our house. $65,000. I actually stumbled backward. My hand grabbed the doorframe to keep from falling. You did what? I couldn't breathe. Couldn't process. You took a loan against our house? Without telling me. That's illegal. Both our names are on that house. I forged your signature, he admitted, and those words hit me like a physical blow. Sarah, I'm so sorry. I thought I could make the money back before you ever knew. Triple it. We could pay off our debts, help the kids with college, maybe even buy a new car ourselves. You forged my signature? I repeated. My voice sounded strange, distant, like it was coming from someone else. That's fraud, David. That's a crime. I know. He stood up, reaching for me, but I backed away. I know, and I'm sorry. But listen, the investment went bad. The guy disappeared. The money's gone. All of it. $65,000, I said numbly. Gone. I've been trying to figure out how to tell you, David said. He was crying now, tears running down his face. I've been working extra jobs, tutoring on weekends, trying to make payments on the loan so you wouldn't find out. But then this BMW thing happened, and I don't understand. Wait, I interrupted, my brain suddenly clicking into gear. If you lost the money, then who bought the BMW? David's face went even paler. I don't know. Someone used our names to buy my brother a $70,000 car, I said slowly. Who would do that? Before David could answer, there was a knock on the door. Tom poked his head in. Hey, what are you guys doing in here? Come see the car. Everyone's asking for you. Tom, I said, my voice shaking. Who exactly did you talk to about this BMW? Your husband, Tom said, looking confused. Well, not this husband. Your other husband called me last week. The room started spinning. My what? Your other husband, Tom repeated. David called me. Well, he said his name was David Mitchell and that he was your husband. I thought it was weird that his voice sounded different on the phone, but I figured he had a cold or something. I looked at David. My real husband, my actual David. He looked as confused and horrified as I felt. Someone, I said slowly, pretended to be David and bought you this car in our name? That's crazy, Tom said. Why would someone do that? Is this some kind of prank? It wasn't a prank. I knew it wasn't a prank. Someone out there knew about us. Knew our names. Had enough information to buy a car in our identity. And they wanted Tom to think it came from us. But who? And why? Sarah. David said. Are you thinking what I'm thinking? I was thinking about the $65,000 David had lost. I was thinking about how someone seemed to be targeting our family. I was thinking about how someone had enough of our information to commit fraud. The man who took your money, I said to David. What was his name? Marcus Reed, David said. But it was probably fake. He's disappeared completely. Marcus Reed. I didn't know that name. But someone knew us. Someone was playing a terrible game with our lives. At that moment, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I pulled it out and looked at the screen. It was a text from an unknown number. Enjoying the party? You should check your bank account. Smiley face. My hands shaking, I opened my banking app. David and I had a joint checking account and a small savings account. We usually had about $3,000 combined. The balance showed zero. Both accounts. Completely empty. Someone had drained every penny we had while we were at this party. I showed the screen to David. The color drained from his face again. Call the bank, he said. Right now. Call them. But before I could dial, another text came through. Don't bother calling. The money's already gone somewhere, you'll never find it. But don't worry. I'm not done with you yet. This is just the beginning. See you soon, Sarah. My legs gave out. I actually collapsed onto the floor, the phone falling from my hands. David and Tom rushed to help me up, their voices sounding far away and muffled. Sarah. Sarah, what's wrong? But I couldn't answer. Because I suddenly understood with horrible, crystal clarity that someone was destroying our lives piece by piece. The loan. The BMW. Our bank accounts. This wasn't random. This was planned. Targeted. Personal. Someone hated us enough to ruin us. And they were just getting started. The next few hours were a complete blur of chaos and fear. Tom's birthday party fell apart as word spread that something was terribly wrong. Guests started leaving quietly, whispering to each other, glancing at me with confusion and pity. My mother took Emma and Jake home with her, which I was grateful for. I didn't want them to see me like this, shaking and pale and terrified. David and I spent the rest of Saturday evening at the police station. The building smelled like old coffee and cleaning products, and the fluorescent lights were so bright they made my head hurt. We sat in a small grey room with Detective Laura Chen, a woman in her 40s with short black hair and sharp, intelligent eyes. "Let me make sure I understand," Detective Chen said, writing notes on her pad. "Someone forged your identities to purchase a BMW for your brother. Someone also drained your bank accounts. We're talking about $3,200 total, correct?" "Yes," I said. My voice sounded hoarse. I'd been crying on and off for hours. "And Mr. Mitchell, you took out a $65,000 loan against your house 3 months ago, which you lost to what you believe was a scam artist named Marcus Reed?" David nodded miserably. "I know how stupid it sounds. I know I made terrible choices. But someone is using that information against us now. They know things about our lives." Detective Chan tapped her pen against her notepad. "The bank account theft is straightforward fraud. We can investigate that. The BMW purchase is more complicated because technically, a gift was delivered. Your brother received something of value. But we didn't authorize it," I said. "Someone stole our identity." "I understand, Mrs. Mitchell. But here's the problem. Whoever did this was very clever. They used a cashier's check to pay for the BMW. Completely untraceable once it's cashed. The dealership did their job. They verified the check. They delivered the car. From their perspective, everything was legitimate." "What about the phone call Tom got?" David asked. "They confirmed the delivery with someone claiming to be me." "We'll get the phone records from the dealership," Detective Chen said. "But I'm guessing it was a burner phone, a cheap, prepaid cell that can't be traced back to anyone. These people seem to know what they're doing." "These people," I repeated. "You think there's more than one person?" "Possibly. Or one very organized individual." She looked at both of us carefully. "I have to ask, do either of you have enemies? Someone who might want to hurt you? An ex-partner, a former friend, someone you had a falling out with?" David and I looked at each other. We'd had this exact conversation in the car on the way to the police station. "No one," I said. "I'm a third-grade teacher. David teaches high school history. We don't have drama in our lives. We're boring. What about this Marcus Reed who took your money?" Detective Chen asked David. "Could he be behind all this?" "Maybe," David said. "But why? He already got the $65,000. Why come back and mess with us more? It doesn't make sense." Detective Chen closed her notebook. "I'll be honest with you both. Financial crimes like this are difficult to solve. The people who do them are usually smart enough to cover their tracks. But we'll investigate. We'll contact the bank, the BMW dealership, and see what we can find. In the meantime, I need you to change all your passwords, monitor your credit reports, and be very careful about any unusual activity." As we left the police station, the sun was setting, painting the sky orange and purple. It should have been beautiful, but I felt nothing except cold fear. "What are we going to tell the kids?" I asked David as we sat in our car in the parking lot. "The truth," he said quietly. "Or at least part of it. We'll tell them someone stole our identity and we're working with the police to fix it. We don't need to tell them everything about the loan and my mistakes." I looked at my husband, the man I'd been married to for 20 years. In the harsh light of the setting sun, I could see every line on his face, every gray hair, every sign of the stress he'd been carrying. "You forged my signature," I said. It wasn't the first time I'd said it, but each time the words felt heavier. "You committed fraud against me. Your own wife." "I know," David whispered. "Sarah, I know there's nothing I can say to make it better. I was desperate and stupid and I thought I could fix everything before you found out. I never meant to hurt you." "But you did hurt me," I said. Tears were running down my face again. "You didn't trust me enough to tell me we were struggling. You made a massive decision that affects both of us without including me. And now someone is using that against us. I'll make it right, David said. I promise. I'll work 3 jobs if I have to. I'll sell everything we own. I'll fix this. I wanted to believe him. But trust, once broken, doesn't heal quickly. We drove home in silence. Our house was a modest 2-story building in a quiet neighborhood, with a small front yard and a swing set in the back that the kids had long since outgrown. Usually, coming home felt safe and comfortable. Tonight, it felt like walking into enemy territory. What if someone had been in our house? What if they were watching us right now? Inside, I checked every room, every closet, every window. Everything looked normal, untouched. But I couldn't shake the feeling that we were being observed. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed next to David, staring at the ceiling, my mind racing with questions. Who was doing this to us? How did they know so much about our lives? What did they want? The text message kept replaying in my mind. This is just the beginning. What else were they planning? Sunday morning came too quickly. I'd maybe slept 2 hours total. David looked just as exhausted as I felt. We had to pick up Emma and Jake from my mother's house and explain what was happening. The conversation went about as badly as I expected. Someone stole our identity? Emma asked, her 16-year-old face scrunched up in confusion and worry. Like, they're pretending to be you? Yes, I said. We were sitting in our living room. Jake, at 14, looked scared but was trying to act tough. They used our names to buy things and take money from our bank account. Are we going to be okay? Jake asked. Do we have money for food and stuff? My heart broke a little. Yes, honey. We'll be fine. We have Dad's paycheck coming, and my paycheck, and the police are investigating. Did they steal our college fund? Emma asked quietly. David and I exchanged a look. The truth was, there wasn't much of a college fund to begin with, and what little we'd saved was in a different account that hadn't been touched. Yet. Your college fund is safe, David assured her. And we're changing all our passwords and security information to make sure nothing else happens. But even as he said it, we all knew that whoever was targeting us had already proven they were smarter than our basic security measures. The kids went upstairs to their rooms, and I could hear Emma on the phone with her best friend, probably telling her everything. Jake turned on his video games, his way of dealing with stress. David and I spent Sunday afternoon doing damage control. We called our credit card companies to freeze our cards and request new ones. We changed every password we had, email, bank accounts, social media, everything. We filed reports with the credit bureaus. We called our mortgage company to inform them about the forged loan. That last phone call was the worst. Mr. Mitchell, the mortgage company representative said, her voice professionally sympathetic but ultimately unhelpful. I understand your situation, but according to our records, you took out a legitimate home equity loan 3 months ago. The paperwork was processed, the money was distributed, and you've been making payments on time. But I'm telling you my wife's signature was forged. David insisted, his voice rising. This is fraud. You'll need to file a police report and potentially take legal action, she said. But until this is resolved through proper channels, the loan stands. You're responsible for the payments. After he hung up, David put his head in his hands. We're paying $600 a month on that loan. For money we don't have. For a scam that destroyed us. We'll figure it out, I said, though I had no idea how. Our monthly budget was already tight. $600 extra per month might as well have been $6 million. That evening, my phone rang. It was Tom. Sarah, I don't know what to say. My brother's voice was heavy with guilt. The police came by today asking about the BMW. I gave them all the information I had. I'm so sorry this is happening. It's not your fault, Tom, I said, even though part of me was angry at him for accepting such an expensive gift without questioning it more carefully. Someone is targeting us. You're just caught in the middle. I'm returning the car, Tom said firmly. Tomorrow. I'm taking it back to the dealership and explaining everything. They might not take it back, I warned him. Detective Chin said the purchase was technically legitimate from their end. I don't care. I'm not keeping a car that someone bought through fraud, even if they used your names. It's not right. After we hung up, I felt marginally better. At least Tom was trying to do the right thing. But my small moment of relief was shattered when my phone buzzed with another text. Unknown number. Tell your brother to keep the car. It's a gift. He deserves nice things for his 50th birthday. Unlike you, who deserves to suffer. My blood ran cold. I showed the text to David. They're watching us, he whispered. They know Tom wants to return the car. They're watching everything we do. How? I demanded. How are they watching us? We looked around our living room like we might spot a camera hidden in the walls. It felt paranoid, but was it really paranoia when someone was actually targeting us? David grabbed his laptop and started searching. There are apps, he said, typing frantically. Spyware that can be installed on phones remotely. They can see your texts, your calls, your location, everything. We spent the next hour running security scans on both our phones. We found nothing. But that didn't mean there was nothing to find, just that we weren't smart enough to find it. Maybe we should get new phones, I suggested. New numbers. Start completely fresh. That might help, David agreed. Let's do it tomorrow. But I had a sinking feeling that new phones wouldn't be enough. Whoever was doing this to us was always one step ahead. Monday morning, I called in sick to work. I couldn't face a classroom full of 8-year-olds when my entire life was falling apart. David did the same. We went to the phone store first thing and got completely new phones with new numbers. We only gave the new numbers to immediate family and told everyone else we'd contact them when we could. Then we went to the bank. The bank manager, a nervous young man named Peter, reviewed our case in his office. Mrs. Mitchell, Mr. Mitchell, I'm very sorry this happened. We're investigating how someone gained access to your accounts. They used your correct login information and security answers, which suggests they know a lot about us, I finished. We know. Can you tell us anything about where the money went? Peter looked uncomfortable. The funds were transferred to an offshore account. We're working with federal investigators, but I have to be honest, the chances of recovering the money are very slim. These offshore accounts are specifically designed to be untraceable. $3,200. It wasn't a fortune, but it was everything we had for groceries, gas, emergencies. Now it was gone, sitting in some bank account in a country we'd probably never even heard of. We'll waive the overdraft fees and provide you with some resources for identity theft victims, Peter continued. And we're putting extra security measures on your new account. It felt like too little, too late. As we left the bank, my new phone rang. The number was my mother's. Sarah, honey, Mom said, and I could hear the panic in her voice. Someone just came to my house asking about you. My stomach dropped. What? Who? A man. He said he was from your credit card company, investigating fraud. He had a badge and everything. He asked me questions about you, where you work, where the kids go to school, your daily routines. Mom, please tell me you didn't answer his questions. I gave him some basic information before I got suspicious, she admitted. He seemed legitimate. But then he asked something strange. He wanted to know if you had any safety deposit boxes or storage units. I said I didn't know, and he got this look in his eyes. Sarah, it scared me. So I told him to leave. Did you call the police? David asked. He'd been listening on speaker. Yes, immediately. They're sending someone over now. We're coming too, I said. Mom, lock your doors and don't answer for anyone except the police or us. We drove to my mother's house faster than we should have, my heart pounding the entire way. Who was this man? Why was he asking about storage units and safety deposit boxes? We didn't have either of those things. When we arrived, a police car was already there. Detective Chen had sent another officer to take Mom's statement. My mother looked shaken but unharmed, sitting on her couch with a cup of tea. He was in his 30s, Mom told the officer. Average height, brown hair, wearing a nice suit. He showed me a badge that said, Financial Crimes Division, but now I'm wondering if it was fake. Did you notice what kind of car he was driving? The officer asked. A dark blue sedan, Mom said. I didn't see the license plate. It wasn't much to go on. The officer took down all the information and promised to patrol the neighborhood more frequently. After he left, I hugged my mother tight. I'm so sorry, Mom. We never meant for any of this to touch you. None of this is your fault, Mom said firmly. Well, except for David's part. She gave my husband a stern look. That was very foolish, David. I know, Mrs. Patterson, David said miserably. I know. We stayed with Mom for a few hours, making sure she felt safe. While we were there, Tom called to tell us that the BMW dealership had refused to take the car back. The sale was final. He was now the owner of a $70,000 car he didn't ask for and couldn't afford to insure. I'm going to sell it, Tom said. Use whatever money I get to help you guys out. Tom, no, I started. Yes, he insisted. Sarah, you're my sister. Someone is hurting you and I'm not going to profit from it. I'll sell the car, and whatever I get will go toward that loan payment or whatever you need. I wanted to argue, but the truth was, we needed help. Badly. That night, back home, David and I were trying to make dinner when my new phone rang. I didn't recognize the number, but it had our local area code. Hello. I answered cautiously. Sarah Mitchell. A woman's voice, professional and crisp. Yes. This is Amanda Flores from First National Bank's Fraud Department. I'm calling about some unusual activity we've detected on your new account. My blood turned to ice. What kind of activity? We just opened that account this morning. Someone attempted to transfer $5,000 out of your account approximately 10 minutes ago. Our system flagged it as suspicious and blocked the transfer. We're calling to verify. Did you authorize this? No. I practically shouted. No, we didn't. How is this even possible? We just got this account today. New phones, new passwords, everything new. I understand your frustration, Mrs. Mitchell. We've stopped the transfer and we're locking down your account temporarily. But I need to ask, is there anyone in your life who might have access to your personal information? Someone close to you. I looked at David. He was watching me with wide, worried eyes. Someone close to us. The words echoed in my mind. Who did we trust completely? Who knew everything about our lives? I don't know, I said. But even as I said it, a horrible suspicion was beginning to form in my mind. There was one person who knew almost everything about us. One person who'd been in our house countless times, who knew our routines, who we trusted without question. But it couldn't be. It was impossible. Wasn't it? After I hung up with the bank, I turned to David. Who knows us best? Who has been in this house, seen our mail, might know our passwords? David thought for a moment. Your mother. Tom. Our kids. My sister Rebecca, but she lives across the country. Our friends Mike and Jennifer, but they're in the middle of their own divorce. They're not thinking about us. Your friend from work, Carol. He stopped. We both looked at each other. Carol. My best friend from work. The person I told everything to. Who'd been coming over to our house for years. Who'd been acting a little strange lately, now that I thought about it. Distant. Asking weird questions about our finances. No, I said out loud. Carol wouldn't. She's my friend. When's the last time you talked to her? David asked carefully. I thought back. She called me Saturday. During Tom's party. I didn't answer because everything was falling apart. What about before that? Friday after work. She asked if we were doing okay financially. She said we looked stressed. David pulled out his laptop. What's Carol's last name? Henderson. Carol Henderson. But David, seriously, you can't think. I'm just checking, he said, typing. Did she ever date anyone named Marcus? Does she have a brother named Marcus? Any connection to that name? Not that I know of, I said. But doubt was creeping in. How well did I really know Carol? We worked together, we had lunch sometimes. We texted about work stuff and funny things our students did. But did I know about her personal life? Her family? Her relationships? David was silent, staring at his computer screen. His face had gone pale again. What? I demanded. What did you find? He turned the laptop toward me. On the screen was a Facebook profile. Carol Henderson. But the photos showed her with a man in his 30s with brown hair, average height. The description my mother had given of the man who came to her house. In one photo, Carol was kissing this man's cheek. The caption read, "Happy anniversary to my amazing husband, Marcus. 3 years of happiness. Marcus." Carol was married to someone named Marcus. My best friend's husband had the same name as the man who'd scammed David out of $65,000. That couldn't be a coincidence, could it? I stared at the screen, my hands shaking so badly I had to grip the edge of the table. Carol's smiling face looked back at me from the photo, her arm wrapped around a man named Marcus. My best friend. The woman I'd shared my lunch breaks with for 5 years. The woman I'd trusted with my secrets, my worries, my life. When did she get married? David asked, his voice tight. I don't know, I admitted, feeling sick. She never told me she was married. She never mentioned a husband. She doesn't wear a ring. David scrolled through more of Carol's Facebook profile. Look at this. She has her relationship status set to private. Most of her posts are about teaching and books. But if you look at her photos. He clicked through several albums. Here. 3 years ago. Wedding photos. There they were. Carol in a simple white dress, Marcus in a gray suit, standing in front of a courthouse. It wasn't a big wedding, just them and 2 witnesses I didn't recognize. The date was June 15th, 3 years ago. Just 2 months before Carol started working at my school. She lied to me, I whispered. For 5 years, she lied. Every time I asked about her personal life, she said she was single. She said she was focusing on her career. I invited her to dinner parties and tried to set her up with David's single friends, and she always said she wasn't interested in dating. Why would she hide her marriage? David wondered aloud. Unless it was part of a plan, I finished. The pieces were clicking together in my mind, forming a horrible picture. David, what if she got the job at my school specifically to get close to me? What if this whole friendship was fake from the beginning? David pulled up more information. Marcus Henderson. Let me search that name with the other name, Marcus Reed. He typed frantically. After a few minutes, his face went even paler. Sarah. Marcus Henderson changed his name. Legally. 4 years ago. His birth name was Marcus Reed. The room spun. I grabbed the edge of the table to steady myself. Marcus Reed. The man who'd scammed David. The man who'd disappeared with $65,000. He was Carol's husband. And Carol had been my friend, my close friend, for 5 years. She was gathering information, I said, the realization hitting me like a truck. All those conversations we had. All those times I complained about money being tight, or mentioned the kids' college funds, or talked about our house. She was collecting information about us. But why? David asked. Why target us specifically? We're not rich. We're not important. What did we do to them? That was the question that made no sense. We were just regular people. Teachers. Parents. We didn't have enemies. We'd never hurt anyone. Why would someone spend years setting up an elaborate scheme to destroy us? My phone buzzed. Another text from the unknown number. Finally figured it out, Sarah? Took you long enough. Carol says hi, by the way. She's going to miss your little lunch chats. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped the phone. I showed it to David. They're taunting us, he said. They want us to know. We need to call Detective Chen, I said. Right now. We have evidence. We know who's doing this. I dialed the detective's number. She answered on the third ring. Detective Chen. It's Sarah Mitchell. We know who's been targeting us. It's my co-worker Carol Henderson and her husband Marcus. He's the same Marcus who scammed my husband. I can send you. Mrs. Mitchell, slow down, Detective Chen interrupted. You're saying your co-worker is involved? I explained everything as quickly as I could. The Facebook photos. The name change. The years of friendship that now seemed like an infiltration. When I finished, there was a long pause. That's concerning, Detective Chen said carefully. But Mrs. Mitchell, I need you to understand something. Knowing someone and being Facebook friends with someone isn't evidence of a crime. Even if Carol lied about being married, that's not illegal. But her husband is Marcus Reed. I protested. The man who stole from us. We'll investigate that connection, Detective Chen promised. But here's the problem. We still can't prove Marcus Henderson and Marcus Reed are definitely the same person who ran the investment scam. Name changes are public record, but we need more than that. We need evidence of the actual crimes. Financial records, communications, something concrete. What about the text messages? David asked. He'd been listening on speaker. From an untraceable number, Detective Chen reminded us. The person sending them is smart. They're not giving us anything we can use to identify them legally. So what do we do? I asked, frustration making my voice crack. Just wait while they destroy our lives piece by piece. No. You document everything. Save every text, every email, every suspicious contact. Don't confront Carol, if she is involved. Confronting her might make things worse. And I'll start digging into Marcus Henderson's background. If there's a connection to financial crimes, we'll find it. After we hung up, I felt helpless. We knew who was hurting us, but we couldn't prove it. We couldn't stop it. I have to go to work tomorrow, I said quietly. I'm out of sick days, and we can't afford for me to lose this job. Which means I have to see Carol. I have to pretend everything is normal. David put his arm around me. Can you do that? I don't know, I admitted. How do you smile at someone who's been destroying your life? That night, I barely slept again. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Carol's face. Laughing at my jokes during lunch. Listening sympathetically when I complained about bills. Helping me grade papers after school. Had any of it been real? Or was every moment carefully calculated to gather information she could use against me? Tuesday morning came too soon. I got dressed in a daze, putting on my usual teaching clothes, comfortable pants and a colorful sweater that the kids liked. I looked at myself in the mirror and barely recognized the pale, exhausted woman staring back. You can do this, David said, kissing my forehead. Just get through today. Don't let her know that we know. I drove to Riverside Elementary School, the place where I'd worked for 12 years. Usually, I loved my job. The kids, the other teachers, the routine of it all. Today, it felt like walking into enemy territory. Carol's classroom was 3 doors down from mine. As I walked past, I saw her through the window. She was writing something on the whiteboard, her back to the door. She looked completely normal. Just Carol. My friend Carol. Except she wasn't my friend. She never had been. I made it to my classroom and closed the door. My hands were shaking as I set up for the day. At 8:15, my third graders started arriving, their cheerful voices and bright faces a welcome distraction from the nightmare my life had become. Good morning, Mrs. Mitchell. Emma Chen, no relation to Detective Chen, bounced into the room. I finished the book you recommended. It was so good. I smiled at her, and for a moment, the smile felt real. That's wonderful, Emma. We can talk about it at reading time. The morning passed in a blur of math lessons and spelling tests. For a few hours, I could almost forget about everything else. Almost. Then came lunchtime. I was in the teacher's lounge, heating up my sad leftover pasta, when Carol walked in. Sarah. I've been trying to call you all weekend. She looked concerned, friendly, perfectly normal. Your phone kept going straight to voicemail. Is everything okay? I had to force myself to look at her, to smile, to lie the way she'd been lying to me for 5 years. Oh, just family drama, I said, keeping my voice light. I got a new phone. New number. I'll text it to you later. Family drama? Carol sat down next to me, her face full of fake concern. What happened? You can tell me. Could I? Could I really? I wanted to scream at her, to demand why she was doing this. But Detective Chen's words echoed in my mind. Don't confront her. Just some identity theft stuff, I said, watching her face carefully for any reaction. Someone's been messing with our bank accounts. It's been really stressful. Carol's expression didn't change. Not even a flicker. Oh my God, that's terrible. Did you call the police? Yeah, they're investigating. I took a bite of my pasta even though I felt like I might throw up. It's scary, Someone out there knows so much about us. I can't even imagine, Carol said, shaking her head. Do they have any idea who did it? Was I imagining it, or was there something in her eyes? A hint of amusement? Satisfaction? Not yet, I lied. But they're working on it. Well, if you need anything at all, I'm here for you, Carol said, putting her hand on my arm. Her touch made my skin crawl. That's what friends are for, right? Right, I managed to say. Thanks, Carol. She left a few minutes later to make copies, and I sat there alone, my untouched lunch in front of me. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. Good job keeping your mouth shut. You're smarter than I thought. Keep it up, and maybe I'll let you suffer a little less. They were watching. Somehow, they knew I'd just talked to Carol. Were they listening to our conversation? Was there a bug in the teacher's lounge? Or was Carol texting Marcus, telling him everything I said? I looked around the lounge, at the familiar couches and the bulletin board covered in teacher announcements and the coffee maker that was always brewing. This room had felt safe for 12 years. Now it felt like a trap. I couldn't do this. I couldn't pretend for days or weeks or however long it took the police to build a case. I was going to break. The afternoon was worse. During recess, Carol came to my classroom. Hey, I was thinking, she said, leaning against my desk. Maybe we should get together this weekend? You seem really stressed. We could have wine and watch movies like we used to. Used to. We'd done that maybe 3 times in 5 years. But Carol was acting like we were best friends who did it all the time. Maybe, I said, organizing papers on my desk to avoid looking at her. I'll have to check with David. Things are pretty chaotic right now. How is David handling everything? Carol asked. There was something in her voice. Something sharp beneath the sweetness. He's fine, I said shortly. Why? No reason. Just, men don't always handle stress well. Especially financial stress. She examined her fingernails casually. Has he been acting strange at all? She was fishing for information. trying to find out if we suspected anything. If David had told me about the investment scam. No stranger than usual, I said, forcing a laugh. He's just worried like I am. Of course. Carol smiled. But it didn't reach her eyes. Well, I should get back. But seriously, call me if you need to talk. About anything. After she left, I locked my classroom door and sat at my desk, putting my head in my hands. I wanted to cry. To scream. To run away and never come back. My phone buzzed again. But this time, it wasn't the unknown number. It was Detective Chin. Mrs. Mitchell, we found something. Can you and your husband come to the station after work? David met me at the police station at 4:30. We sat in the same grey room as before, waiting for Detective Chen. When she arrived, she had a thick folder in her hands. We did some digging into Marcus Henderson, she said, sitting down across from us. And you were right to be suspicious. This man has a history. She opened the folder and spread out several documents. Marcus Henderson, formerly Marcus Reed, formerly Michael Rhodes. He's changed his name twice in the past 10 years. Each time, he's run the same type of scam, investment fraud targeting middle-class families. How many families? I asked, my voice barely a whisper. That we know of. 17. And those are just the ones who reported it. The real number is probably higher. 17 families. We weren't special. We weren't targeted for any specific reason. We were just the latest victims in a long line of people Marcus had destroyed. What about Carol? David asked. His wife. Detective Chen pulled out another document. Carol Henderson, formerly Carol Reed, formerly Carol Masters. She's changed her name to match his every time. And here's where it gets interesting. She always gets a job near the victims. Usually in education or social services. Somewhere she can build trust and gather information. She's done this before, I said numbly. The friendship, the conversations, all of it. She's played this role 17 times. At least, Detective Chan confirmed. We're still digging, but it looks like she's his partner in every sense. She gathers information. He approaches the male victim with an investment opportunity. They steal money through the scam, then they drain bank accounts and commit identity fraud to get even more. By the time the victims realize what's happening, Marcus and Carol have moved to a new city with new names. But they're still here, David said. They haven't left yet. Why? Detective Chen's face was grim. That's what worries me. Usually, they're gone within a week of the first fraud. But they're still in town, still targeting you. Which means they're not finished. A chill ran down my spine. What else could they possibly take? They've already taken our money. They've destroyed our credit. What's left? I don't know, Detective Chan admitted. But I think we need to find out before they make their next move. We're getting a warrant to search their home and access their financial records. But that takes time. In the meantime, I need you both to be very careful. Don't go anywhere alone. Vary your routines. Install security cameras if you can afford them. We can't afford anything, David said bitterly. They made sure of that. As we left the police station, the sun was setting again. Another day gone. Another day closer to whatever Carol and Marcus were planning. I can't go back to that school, I said to David as we sat in our car. I can't see her again. I can't pretend. I know, David said. But if you quit, we lose your income. We can't survive on just my salary, especially not with the loan payments. So I'm trapped, I said. I have to work alongside the woman who's destroying my life because we need the money she helped steal from us. The irony was so cruel it almost made me laugh. Almost. We drove home in silence. When we pulled into our driveway, I noticed something immediately. Our front door was open. Just slightly. Maybe an inch. Did you lock the door this morning? I asked David, my heart starting to pound. Yes. I definitely locked it. I remember checking it twice. We sat in the car, staring at our house. Our home. The place where our children slept. Where we were supposed to be safe. Someone had been inside. David called 911 while I called Emma and Jake. They were both at after-school activities and would be for another hour, thank God. At least they weren't home when whoever this was had broken in. The police arrived within 10 minutes. 2 officers searched our house while David and I waited on the front lawn, holding hands so tightly my fingers went numb. After what felt like hours but was probably only 15 minutes, one of the officers came out. The house is clear. No one's inside. But you should come see this. We followed him inside, up the stairs, to our bedroom. On our bed, arranged carefully, were photographs. Dozens of them. Photos of me and David. At the grocery store. Dropping the kids off at school. At work. At Tom's party. Some of them went back weeks, maybe months. We'd been followed. Watched. Documented. But that wasn't the worst part. In the center of the photographs was a single piece of paper. A note, written in red ink. You think you know what we took. You have no idea what you're about to lose. The real game starts now. M&C. And underneath that, one more line that made my blood run cold. See you at the funeral. The funeral. Those 3 words kept echoing in my mind as I stared at the note. See you at the funeral. Whose funeral? Were they planning to kill one of us? Were they threatening our children? We need protection, I said to the officers, my voice shaking. They're threatening our lives. They broke into our house. Look at these photos. They've been stalking us. The older officer, a man with gray hair and tired eyes, examined the photos carefully. This is definitely escalating. Detective Chin needs to see this immediately. We're going to dust for fingerprints, but I'm guessing they wore gloves. They did. Of course they did. Carol and Marcus were too smart to leave evidence. We can increase patrols in your neighborhood, the younger officer said. And I strongly recommend you stay somewhere else tonight. With family or friends. We called my mother. Within an hour, we'd packed bags for the whole family and driven to her house. Emma and Jake were scared and confused. I tried to explain without terrifying them completely. But how do you tell your children that someone wants to hurt your family without making them panic? That night, we all slept in my mother's living room. Emma and Jake on the couches, David and me on an air mattress on the floor. Nobody slept well. Every sound made us jump. Every car passing outside made my heart race. Wednesday morning, I called in sick again. I didn't care about sick days anymore. I couldn't face Carol. Not after seeing those photos. Not after that note. Detective Chin came to my mother's house at 9 a.m. She looked exhausted, like she'd been up all night. We executed the search warrant on Carol and Marcus Henderson's residence this morning, she said, sitting at my mother's kitchen table. They're gone. The house is completely empty. Cleared out sometime last night, we think. Gone. I repeated. But they left that note. They said. The note was their goodbye, Detective Chen interrupted. Or at least, that's what we thought at first. But then we found something in the house. Hidden in the walls. She pulled out her phone and showed us photos. In the photos, we could see inside the walls of Carol and Marcus's house. And inside those walls were boxes and boxes of documents. They kept records of everything, Detective Chan explained. Every family they've scammed. Every identity they've stolen. Bank records, forged signatures, detailed notes about their victims' daily lives. It's like a trophy collection. Did you find anything about us? David asked. More than anything else, Detective Chen said grimly. You two have an entire box. Photos, financial documents, copies of your social security cards, your children's birth certificates. They even had recordings, It looks like Carol was wearing a wire during some of your conversations at school. I felt sick. Every lunch, every casual chat, every moment I'd thought was friendship, she'd been recording it, documenting it, using it against me. But here's what's strange, Detective Chen continued. In your box, there's a letter. Addressed to you, Sarah. We opened it as evidence. But you should read it. She handed me a printed copy of the letter. My hands shook as I read. Dear Sarah, by the time you read this, you'll know everything. Or you think you will. You know I'm not really your friend. You know Marcus scammed David. You know we've been destroying your life piece by piece. But you don't know why. 23 years ago, when you were in college, you had a roommate named Jennifer Masters. Do you remember her? Probably not. You were always so focused on yourself, on your perfect little life, your perfect boyfriend who would become your perfect husband. Jennifer was my sister. My older sister. The person I looked up to more than anyone in the world. She killed herself in March of your senior year. Do you remember that? Do you remember finding her in your shared bathroom? Do you remember calling 911, crying, saying you had no idea she was depressed? You were lying. I was 16 when Jenny died. I read her journals after. All of them. She wrote about you constantly. About how you knew she was struggling. How she told you she was thinking about ending it. How she begged you for help, and you told her to stop being so dramatic. How she asked you to go with her to the counseling center, and you said you were too busy studying. You were too busy to save my sister's life. The guilt ate at you for maybe a week. Then you graduated, married David, moved on with your perfect little life. You probably haven't thought about Jennifer Masters in years. But I've thought about her every single day for 23 years. Marcus and I met in a grief support group. He'd lost his brother to suicide too. We understood each other's pain. We understood that sometimes, people who could have helped choose not to. And those people deserve to know what it feels like to lose everything. We've been planning this for 5 years, Sarah. Every conversation. Every smile. Every moment you thought we were friends. It was all building to this. You took my sister from me. So I'm taking everything from you. Your money. Your security. Your peace of mind. And soon, something even more precious. See you at the funeral. Carol. The letter fell from my hands. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Jennifer Masters. Oh God. I remembered her now. My college roommate. Quiet, sad, always wearing dark clothes. She tried to talk to me about her depression, and I'd been. What had I been? 21 years old. Focused on finals. Annoyed that my roommate was being so negative all the time. Had she really asked me to go to the counseling center with her? I searched my memory, but it was so long ago, so hazy. Maybe she had. Maybe I'd brushed her off because I was studying. Because I was busy. Because I was young and stupid and didn't understand how serious it was. And then I'd found her in the bathroom. Blood everywhere. The image I'd spent 23 years trying to forget. Sarah. David's voice seemed far away. Sarah, what does it say? I couldn't answer. I just handed him the letter. Detective Chen was watching me carefully. Mrs. Mitchell, is this true? Did you know Jennifer Masters? She was my roommate, I whispered. In college. She died. Suicide. I found her. I called 911. But I didn't. I didn't know Carol was her sister. She never said. Never mentioned it. Did Jennifer reach out to you for help before she died? Detective Chin asked gently. I don't remember. Maybe. We talked sometimes, but I was busy with school and David and... I trailed off. Had I ignored her cries for help? Had I been so wrapped up in my own life that I'd missed the signs? Sarah, you were 21 years old, David said firmly. You weren't responsible for her death. But what if I could have helped? I said, tears streaming down my face. What if she asked me for help and I said no? Even if you did, that doesn't justify any of this, Detective Chen said. Carol and Marcus have committed serious crimes against multiple families. They're criminals, and they're using this as an excuse. But the funeral, my mother said, speaking for the first time. They said, "See you at the funeral." Whose funeral are they talking about? That question hung in the air like poison. Detective Chen's phone rang. She answered it, listened for a moment, and her face went pale. "We need to go to the school," she said, standing up abruptly. "Right now. All of you, stay here. Lock the doors. Don't answer for anyone." "What's happening?" I demanded. "Is it Carol? Is she at the school?" "Just stay here," Detective Chen repeated, and she ran out the door. But I couldn't stay. I couldn't sit in my mother's house wondering what was happening. That was my school. My students. My life. "I'm going," I said to David. "Sarah, no. I'm going." We both went, following Detective Chen's car from a distance. When we got to Riverside Elementary, there were police cars everywhere. Officers were evacuating the building. Children were streaming out, crying, confused. Teachers were trying to keep everyone calm. I jumped out of the car before David could stop me and ran toward the building. "Mrs. Mitchell." Principal Harrison grabbed my arm. "You can't go in there." "What's happening? What did she do?" "There's a bomb threat," Principal Harrison said, her face white. "Someone called in a bomb threat, said there's a device in the building set to go off at noon." I looked at my watch. 11:47 a.m. 13 minutes. "Was it Carol?" I asked. "Did Carol call it in?" "We don't know who." "It was her," I shouted. "It's Carol Henderson. She's been targeting me. She's the one behind everything." Police officers and bomb-sniffing dogs were going through the building. Everyone had been evacuated. The street was full of parents coming to pick up their children, news vans arriving, chaos everywhere. "There's no bomb," I said suddenly. "This is a distraction. They're not here. They're somewhere else." "Where?" David asked. And then it hit me. "The funeral. See you at the funeral." They weren't threatening to kill us. They were going somewhere else. Somewhere we would eventually have to go. But whose funeral? My phone rang. Unknown number. I answered it with shaking hands. "Hello, Sarah." Carol's voice. Sweet and poisonous. "Enjoying the chaos? Where are you?" I demanded. "What have you done?" "Nothing yet. But there's one more person who needs to pay for what happened to Jenny. Someone who knew she was suicidal and did nothing. Someone who could have saved her but chose not to." "Who?" I asked, but even as I said it, cold dread was washing over me. "Your husband, Sarah." David knew too, didn't he? Jenny told him at that party, the one in February. She told him she wanted to die, and he laughed it off. Told her she just needed to drink less and cheer up. I looked at David. His face had gone white. "David," I whispered. I don't remember," he said. "Maybe. There was a party. Some girl was crying, upset about something. I might have. I was drunk, Sarah. I was 21 and stupid and drunk. I don't even remember what I said." "Well, Jenny remembered," Carol's voice said through the phone. "She wrote about it in her journal. About how even her roommate's boyfriend thought she was just being overdramatic. That's when she decided no one would help her. That's when she decided to end it." "Carol, please," I said. "We were kids. We didn't understand. We didn't know." "And now you do," Carol interrupted. "Now you know what it's like to lose everything. Your money, your security, your peace of mind. But there's one more thing you need to lose, Sarah. One more thing to make this complete." "What?" I asked, even though I was terrified of the answer. David needs to feel the pain Jenny felt. The hopelessness. The despair. The knowledge that no one cares enough to save you. Where is he? I looked around frantically. David was standing right next to me, confused. David's right here. He's fine. Not that David, you idiot, Carol said, and I could hear the smile in her voice. Your David is fine. For now. I'm talking about the other David. My blood turned to ice. Tom's David. I whispered. Tom's husband. Tom's partner of 15 years. Also named David. He's a therapist. Did you know that? Carol continued. Helps people with depression and suicidal thoughts. Ironic, isn't it? He saves strangers, but he couldn't be bothered to help his husband's sister's roommate 23 years ago. He didn't even know her. I protested. He never met her. But he knew of her. Tom told him all about Sarah's weird roommate who killed herself. He knew. And he did nothing. This was insane. This was beyond revenge. This was madness. Where is he? I asked. Carol, where is Tom's David? Where do you think? At a funeral, of course. His own. By the time you get there, he'll have taken enough pills to make sure he never wakes up. Just like Jenny. He left a note and everything. It's very poetic. Where? I screamed into the phone. Where is he? The old church on Maple Street. The one that's been abandoned for years. He's in the basement. You have maybe 20 minutes before the pills do their job. Better hurry, Sarah. Or another death will be on your conscience. The line went dead. I was already running to the car. David and Detective Chen were right behind me. Call Tom. I shouted. Call Tom right now. David dialed while Detective Chen radioed for backup and an ambulance. We drove through red lights, sirens blaring, racing toward the old church on Maple Street. I knew that church. It had been closed for 5 years, deemed unsafe. The building was falling apart, scheduled for demolition. How had Carol and Marcus gotten Tom's David there? Had they kidnapped him? Drugged him? Tricked him somehow? We screeched to a stop in front of the church. The front doors were chained shut, but there was a side entrance that was slightly open. Wait for backup, Detective Chen ordered, but I was already running inside. The church was dark and smelled like mold and decay. Pews were overturned. The floor was littered with debris. I found the stairs to the basement and stumbled down them, nearly falling in the darkness. David! I screamed. Tom's David. Where are you? At the bottom of the stairs. I found him. Tom's husband David was lying on the floor, barely conscious. Next to him was an empty pill bottle. His phone was on the ground nearby, recording. They were making a video of him dying. No. I dropped to my knees beside him. David, stay with me. Help is coming. He looked at me with unfocused eyes. Sarah. What? What happened? I got a call. They said Tom was hurt. I came here and... He trailed off, his eyes rolling back. Detective Chan and my David arrived with paramedics seconds later. They immediately started working on Tom's husband, inducing vomiting, checking his vital signs. He's alive, one paramedic said. We got here in time. He's going to make it. I collapsed against the wall, sobbing. We'd made it. Barely, but we'd made it. While the paramedics worked, Detective Chen found something on the wall. A message, written in red paint. Round 1 complete. Your move, Sarah. M&C. Round 1. This wasn't over. Tom's David survived. He spent 3 days in the hospital, but he pulled through. The pills hadn't been in his system long enough to cause permanent damage. Tom was devastated and furious. They called him from my phone, he said. They somehow cloned my phone and called him, said I'd been in a car accident. He rushed to the church thinking he was helping me, and they ambushed him. forced the pills down his throat. Carol and Marcus had vanished. Despite a massive manhunt, they disappeared completely. The FBI was now involved. This had become a multi-state case with multiple victims across different states. But for us, life had to continue somehow. We had no money. Our credit was destroyed. We were living with my mother. I'd quit my job at the school. I couldn't go back there, to Carol's classroom 3 doors down, knowing what I knew now. David was working overtime, taking every tutoring job he could get. I was applying for jobs at other schools, but word had spread about the identity theft situation, and no one wanted to hire someone with that kind of baggage. The worst part was the waiting. Waiting for Carol and Marcus to make their next move. Because they would. The message had been clear, round 1 complete. What was round 2? 3 weeks after David's near death, I was at home, my mother's home, when Detective Chen called. "Mrs. Mitchell, you need to brace yourself. I have some very difficult news." My heart stopped. What? What happened? "It's your husband, David. There's been an accident." The world tilted. What kind of accident? He was driving home from his tutoring job. His car went off the road. "Sarah, I'm so sorry. He didn't make it. I don't remember screaming. I don't remember falling. I don't remember my mother catching me as I collapsed. David was dead. My husband of 20 years. The father of my children. The man who'd made terrible mistakes but had been trying so hard to fix them. Gone. The investigation is ongoing," Detective Chen was saying, her voice coming from far away. "But Sarah, there's evidence of tampering with his brake lines. This wasn't an accident. This was murder. Carol and Marcus had killed my husband. The funeral was small. Just family and a few close friends. I stood at the front of the funeral home in a black dress I'd borrowed from my mother, staring at my husband's casket, unable to process that he was really gone. Emma and Jake stood on either side of me, both crying. They'd lost their father. Because of me. Because 23 years ago, I'd been too busy to help a suicidal roommate. During the service, my phone buzzed in my pocket. I almost ignored it. But something made me look. A text message. From an unknown number. "I know what you did with the BMW money. We need to talk. Now." I stared at the message, confusion cutting through my grief. The BMW money? What BMW money? The BMW had been bought with a cashier's check that Carol and Marcus had somehow obtained. There was no BMW money to do anything with. Unless. My hands shaking, I scrolled up through the message history. But there were no other messages from this number. This was the first. And then I looked at the sender name. It said, David. My dead husband was texting me from beyond the grave. The phone slipped from my fingers and clattered to the marble floor of the funeral home, and the world went black. I woke up in a hospital bed. Emma's worried face was above me. "Mom. You fainted. Are you okay?" I tried to sit up, but everything hurt. "How long was I out?" "About an hour. They brought you to the ER. The doctor says you're okay, just stress and grief and—" "My phone," I interrupted. "Where's my phone?" Emma handed it to me. I opened the messages with shaking hands. The text was still there. "I know what you did with the BMW money. We need to talk. Now." From David. But that was impossible. David was dead. I'd seen his body. I'd planned his funeral. He was gone. I noticed something else. The timestamp on the message. It had been sent 3 weeks ago. The day of Tom's birthday party. The day this nightmare had started. But I'd never seen this message before. How was that possible? Unless David had been trying to warn me. Trying to tell me something. And somehow, the message had been delayed or blocked or... I scrolled through my phone settings, my heart pounding. And there, in my blocked messages folder, I found dozens of texts. All from David. All from the weeks before he died. Sarah, we need to talk about Carol. I think she's dangerous. Sarah, please answer. I found something in Carol's classroom. Documents about us. Sarah, I'm scared. I think they're going to kill me. If something happens, look in my car. Under the spare tire. I left evidence there. Everything I found. Please. Under the spare tire. David had left evidence. Evidence that could prove Carol and Marcus had killed him. Evidence that could finally stop them. I need to go, I said to Emma, trying to get out of the hospital bed. Mom, no. You just fainted. You need to rest. But I couldn't rest. Not now. Not when David had left me one final message. I had to find that evidence. And I had to make Carol and Marcus pay for everything they'd done. The funeral might be over, but the war had just begun.